Hello, West London Free School. Hello, Key Stage 3. Welcome to week 7 and your 7th task. I'm going to explain what we'd like you to do this week. In fact, it's slightly different to what we'd originally planned for you. I'm sure you're all aware of the recent events in America and the horrific murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis, and all the protests and the riots and uprisings that have come as a result of it. And we wanted to acknowledge it, and we wanted to show our support for the Black Lives Matter movement. And so what we'd like you to do is we'd like you to create a portrait of a Black British artist in that artist's style of work. So what I'm going to do is show you, we've got together a selection of Black British artists, and I'm going to show you on the PowerPoint the artists, their faces, themselves, their portraits of them with their work, alongside their work, and we'd like you to choose one of them. If in fact you want to choose another one that you know of, then that's absolutely fine too. So I'm going to show you the artists that we've chosen, and you can make your choice. Okay, so the first one we chose was Lynette Yadom Boakye. I think that's the right way of pronouncing it. There she is on the right hand side of your screen, with some paintings of hers in the background. There's another painting of hers. She does an enormous amount of portraits. There are some more. In fact, she was supposed to be having an exhibition, a big exhibition at Tate Britain of her work. Right now, I think it was. I think it's this summer. But sadly, as you know, all the art museums, galleries are all closed. But if you went on the Tate website, hopefully you would find some information about her and her work. We've also got Donald Rodney. There he is on the left-hand side of your screen. And this is one of his most famous paintings on the right here, How the West Was Won. You can see he's got very different style, sort of quite childlike style. But if you look closely at this image, we've got this white figure, cowboy type figure, police type figure, holding a gun to the face of an Indian figure. So it's fairly provocative, to do with racial image. And if you look even closer, you can see here he's sort of got type on it. You might think about putting type. The only good Injun is a dead Injun. So quite serious image. Then we've got Frank Bowling. There he is on the right hand side of your screen. He is, gosh, he must be well into his 80s by now. He lives, I think, between London in America and New York. This is one of his paintings. He had a huge retrospective of his work at the Tate last summer. Huge, enormous paintings, very quite abstract. He plays around with the media. He sort of pours paint down his canvases. So then we've got Lubena Himid. There she is on the right hand side. There's one of her artworks on the left. This, I think, is actually cut out of wood. It's a sort of freestanding wooden, painted on wood artwork. And there she is in front of another of her artworks, which there it is on a pink sheet. Two women sort of being dragged along here by these snarling dogs. So it's a sort of installation type piece of work. Then we've got Chris Feely, who some of you year 9s maybe might remember. Oh, did we look at him with you? One of the original YBAs, Young British Artists, around in the 1990s. And this is one of his most famous works here called No Woman, No Cry. And it is, in fact, it was inspired by, there was an awful, tragic murder of a young black teenager, Stephen Lawrence, in the 1990s, early 1990s, by a gang of white teenagers. And it was a huge, huge story. It sent massive repercussions around the world, and it was basically, it unraveled a whole lot of institutionalized racism within the police force, much like what is happening now in America. Anyway, this work was based on Stephen Lawrence's mother, Doreen Lawrence, and you can see she's got tears crying here. There's a few more of his works. I just thought I'd show you a few more because they're lovely. And he's also famous, you can see here, the paintings are resting on elephant dung. Go and explore that. Find out about these artists. Then here we got Yinka Shonibari. You year nines will remember, you should remember. There he is on the left. There's one of his works on the right. It's just an installation of books, all covered in these very distinctive African batik patterns. And along every single book, there is the name of a British immigrant. There's some more of his works, very, very distinctive, always covers his work in this African batik material, and often has these globes for heads, taking away, you know, the idea of identity and whether people are black or white, or saying that it doesn't matter, you know, we're all the same, and getting around that by putting a globe. Here we've got Keith Piper, very serious looking on the right there, and one of his artworks. You can see here, it looks like he's done this on material with a bit of sewing in there, painted onto the material. Then we've got Sonia Boyce. I love her work. I really got into having a look at all of her work. This is one of her works on the left, and I've also put a few more in. Oh, here, this one. This is in fact a self-portrait of, these are both self-portraits of herself, and this is a lot to do with her conflicting feelings of religion and Christianity, and her place in the world and in society as a black woman growing up in Britain. Then we've got Tam Joseph. Here he is. I think he must be well into his 70s by now. There he is with one of his works, quite Jean-Michel Basquiat type work there, on a black background, sort of scratched into the paint. And this is another of his works. I was quite interested in this, one that he did, one of his most famous ones when he was much younger. Good at sports, likes music, needs surveillance. Quite a provocative, maybe, you know, what he was feeling as a black teenager growing up in Britain. So what are you going to do? So we'd like you to have a look at all of those artists, look at their work, choose a different artist if you want, but please, black and British, choose one of them, and we'd like you to do a portrait of them and reference their style of work. So I'm going to, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm going to show you what I did to approach the task. I decided to go for Yinka Shonibari. There he is, like that image. But I had a little look on the internet and I found this photograph of him. And I thought, that's what I'm going to base my drawing on, my portrait. So I got that. As you can see, there it is on my laptop. got a piece of paper, pencil, got that in front of me. And then if you can see, hopefully here, I just sort of mapped out on the piece of paper, vague shape of his head, shoulders, just an outline. Then on the right, you can see just got a few more details in, the sort of the features, the facial features, the eyes, the nose, just very, very vaguely mapping all the shapes of the portrait or the head out. Obviously, I had to work from a picture because Yinka Shonibare does not live in my house. And that is what you're going to have to do when you choose your artist. Find an image of them and do your response based on that image, unless you have got a Black British artist living in your house. Okay, so then zoomed in a bit on the laptop just so I could start, you know, having a look more carefully. Got more details in, bit more shading, more details, more shading, more bit of tone, and I carried on and on like that. Carrying on, you can see a bit more, carrying on the face. Hadn't decided what to do with the hair yet. You'll see why shortly. Then thought, okay, I will do the hair quite quick, sort of messy, of this huge, great dreadlocks, amazing sort of Medusa style hair. Went quite fun with that, you know, quite sketchy, quick. Did a bit more on the shoulders, on his shirt. And then that's what I turned up with. Ended up with that eventually. And that probably took me, I don't know, I would say a good 45 minutes, maybe more. You know, I took my time on it. But then I thought, okay, great, got this portrait of Yinka Shonibare. Might not recognize him. But I'm not really referencing his style here. I've done a portrait, pencil portrait, but I've got to do something to, you know, make it clearer why it's him. So I went on the internet. I researched a bit of batik, African batik patterns, came up with those, decided I liked that one. And I thought, right, how am I going to incorporate that into my drawing? So I thought, I've got all this white space behind, I'm going to do a background. So I mapped it out in pencil there. Then I got my watercolors out and started just painting the background. Did a bit more, filled the whole thing. Then I started, I've just zoomed in a bit here. Here is colored pencil here. And I went over all the painting, over the top of all the watercolor once it had dried. And that is what I ended up with. Okay, so there is my final portrait. Another way to approach the task. So do you remember I said when I couldn't decide what to do with this hair? I took a little photocopy, or just a photocopy of it like that at that point, because I wasn't quite sure. And I tried something else, and I'm going to just show you. I decided, I know, this is what he's so famous for, these African batik style prints. I had a look at them, and I decided to make his whole hair one big sort of batik style print. So that's what I ended up with. I did a bit of color pencil on his face. Then I got this big white space, and I just did a black background, a stripy background. So that was another way I could do it, because I wasn't sure. I was in typical Miss Barrett style, dither, couldn't work out, couldn't decide. I'm the worst person at making decisions. Anyway, so I did two. So I got that one or that one. Anyway, up to you what you do. So, and there's one more thing. Just some of you might like to choose one artist and take the style of another artist. And just to show you what I mean, I just did that. That was a very quick sort of idea. I used Christofili's No Woman, No Cry, and I sort of tried to turn that portrait I'd done of Yinka Shonibare. It's difficult to see, but you know, he uses lots of mixed media, and there's lots of sort of globules of paint and glitter and sort of glue. You can't really see it here. I used a gold pen, and put it anyway. That's just another idea that you might think of. So recap really quickly. Have a look, go back through the artists that we've done. Choose, who are you going to choose? Tan Joseph, Sonia Boyce, Keith Piper, Yinka Shonibare, Krista Feely, Lubena Himid, Frank Bowling, Donald Rodney, Lynette Yadom Boache. Up to you who you choose. It might be that you've got another idea of another Black British artist, but think about it when you're doing it. Obviously, we want you to think about why you're doing it and acknowledging what is going on at the moment in the world, and have fun doing it. Create your best piece of work, and as always, send it in to us on Show My Homework to your own teacher. Okay, and when you're doing it, take time to look at these artists, research them, and just find out what they're all about, because they've got a lot of them are very, very interesting stories, and think about why you're doing it. Okay, I'm going to stop now. Really, really looking forward to what you come up with. Enjoy it. Goodbye. Oop.